Hello there. I'd like to give you a look at an enjoyable little game here by Peter Schutze and Lloyd Krassner. It's called Dark Continent, and that quite evocatively gives you the setting. You have the continent of Africa here, north to the top. So this space here is actually Egypt. I think here's the Suez Canal, but it's not. It has no effect upon the gameplay. It's up to 5 players take on the role of rival European-based powers that are expanding their military and economic influence and control in Africa, the Dark Continent, during the 1800s. So it's up to 5 players. I'm playing it with 4, a solo game, and what I'd like to do is give you a look at this game, which is on the 7th out of between 10 and 16 turns, and then I'll stop and go back afterwards and give you a look at how the game starts, just so you can sort of see how it goes. So I'll just sort of quickly go through a turn with you now. Turn starts with chip draw phase. This is quite a little interesting mechanism. Essentially, the person who has the highest production draws a chip from 1 to 6. Even if there's only 2 players playing, or 3 or 4, you have all 6 chips. Now the green player, I've got these. Each player has lots of different units, and these are just me to mark the player orders. Now the green player's got the highest production, so they will draw a chip first. Oh no, sorry, blue's got it, the highest production at 22, and green at 21. Productions are just units. Then we've got yellow production of 12 and orange at production of 11. So that's giving you a bit of a look. You can see how green sort of quite well spread out, blues quite well spread out, orange is it's just colonised. Is that the Mauritius Islands? I don't know. Islands there. Yellow's kind of tucked in over there, has been unmolested or sort of unhassled by any of the other players. In fact, none of the players have actually attacked each other yet. But what we do have is we have yellow amassing. Maybe you can see that. If I zoom in a bit. Oops, my monkey grip's falling off. I'll play with this. So you can see yellow's a mass. It's got 3 native armies and a European army there. In a region, you can see these red lines denote regions, which has a port. Now that's quite dangerous, because that means next turn they can sail to any coastal region and create some kind of invasion of it. So effectively what yellow has done with that is they are threatening the bases of blue, orange and green, or perhaps some of these coastal areas here. But these ones are very rich and producing a lot of production. So it's probably one of those 3. So so turn order is very important, because if yellow gets to go last, they can choose where to go, and all the others are going to have to operate defensively. But anyway, so we'll go to, so blue pulls a chip first. He pulls the 5th chip. Now this doesn't mean he goes 5th. He can choose it, so he'll go 5th, or he can give it to one of the others. Now 5th is probably last, so he's a good chance of being last, so he's going to take it. Then green pulls the next chip. They pull first. Now they don't want to go first. Hang on, I think I should zoom this in. They don't want to go first. They want yellow to go first. They want to see what yellow's doing. So now it's yellow has to go first now, but they still get to pull a chip, which 6th. Now they can choose who takes that. So doesn't really affect them much, but they could say, okay, blue's going, but in the player games these are all hidden, so yellow wouldn't know that blue's got 5th, so they would just kind of arbitrarily say, okay, green probably wants to go last because they gave me the first, so I'm going to give it to orange. So now orange pulls a chit and that has to go to green. So that's our turn order. And the next phase is the events phase. The events is just random. Each player rolls a d20. There's 21 territories on the map, and the d20 determines where an event happens. And it only happens in player territories. So if a player has territory 21, they're never going to have an event. But generally you get 1 or 2 events happening, and I've lined them up here, kind of epidemics, flooding, famine, tribal warfare, earthquake, or rebellion. So I roll these so 11, that is area here. So we have an event, the 5th event, which is earthquake. I have you get a nice little cheat sheet with the game, earthquake. So I place an earthquake, and the first item in a list, like a mine, then a fortress, then a town, a fort, and a port. So the fortress is destroyed by earthquake. I'll remove that at the end of the turn. Now green rolls, we get a 2, and that's in a yellow territory, and that's a 3. So that's famine. So you can only have 1 event of any type. So famine, you have no. If there's native armies, 1 is removed, and there's no farm income this turn. So I'll cover the farm to remind me of that. Now blues roll 12, so we get an event here. You see, because there's the guys are spread out quite a lot. There's a lot of events happening. So that's an epidemic. Epidemic, 1 army and 1 leader, if available in the territory, are removed. So there's none removed there, but that territory produces no income this turn. Territory is the same as a region. And then finally, the roll for 13 from orange. There, so that's no player, so we don't worry about that. Next you go on to the new leader phase. So on a 1 or 2, you get a new leader coming over from Europe, and just only the orange player. I've brought coloured dye to help me. The orange player gets a new leader. Now you can see you might not be able to see, they have a leader here and a leader here. They have an army here without a leader. And the counter mix is a limitation, so there's only 3 leaders, so they got all 3 of their leaders out. They add a bonus to movement and combat. Then we go to the production phase. This, in a way, is the most exciting bit. We produce, we roll for investment from European investors. So then we see what we have available. We have to pay for upkeep of armies, and then we build infrastructure and perhaps new armies, and then we bank any profit away, which are victory points at the end of all that. Then we go to movement, battle, and then just an administration phase. So I'm going to do the production that, and or maybe I'll run through one of them. So we'll do the yellow player first because he's the first player, and what that means is, let me come down a bit. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what we have is we have a mine here, and that is oil, so that produces 3. The farm doesn't produce anything, or else the vegetables there would produce 1, and if there was a cow, that would produce as well. So that region's producing 3 income. Then here they've got a farm, a town, and a port. So the fisheries produce 2 plus 1 for the port is 3. The farm is 3. And the town is 2 for population. So that's 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 and 3 is 11 production. It could be better at this point in the game. For example, we had 22, didn't we? So, and then we roll, and this is completely random for foreign investors. 2 dice, and we add that to whatever the production is. So that's 10, and so we get 21 income total. Now, I'll just give you a quick look. Here's the sheets. I photocopied these that come with the game. You can see at the beginning your production is quite low, and so potentially, you know, you'd have more investment than native production, as it were. But obviously that ratio changes a bit. So that's the yellow player. There's a blue player as an example. So here we've got, that was investment, that was the in-house production. We've got 21. So now we have to upkeep the armies. There's 3 native armies and a European army. The natives cost 1 each and the European costs 3 each to upkeep. So that's 6 altogether. So that leaves 15 more income for infrastructure and profit. Now, you keep a tally of the profit and you add that to the number, at the end of the game, the number of regions and farms, towns, mines, etc. and ports that the player has, and that is the victory points. And at the moment, yellow started out quite well. They were in the lead for a time, and now their running tally is 19 against, for example, 32 of blue. So they're going to need to bank quite a bit of profit. So, and they're planning that attack. It's a bit of a risky venture. It's turn 8. On turn 10, you roll a die, add it to 9, and if that number is equal to or less than the turn number, then the game ends. So on turn 10, there's 1 in 6 chance of the game ending. We're on turn 8 now, so we're coming up to the end game. We are in the end game. It could stretch on up to turn 16 by a quirk of fate, but yellow's banking on that risky venture, so because no one else has got anybody in a port. Oh, except orange has got someone in port, so orange could threaten yellow. Orange moves last, so okay. They're going to buy 2 native armies at a cost of 6, and they can put them in either region, 6 each, so that's 12. They have spent on infrastructure. There's not much infrastructure they can add to the only two regions they have to increase the production there. So they're going to try and do it by warfare. So they spent 18, 21, so they didn't actually bank much in the end, only 3 profit, so their tally is 22. So now we go to the next player who is green. You get the picture.